Looks like it's going to be a long season covering this team. Back to hating on this team again after that incredible comeback win against the Raptors. I mean, Bulls are kind of lucky because according to the L2M report, the refs missed 2 calls on the Bulls that would have secured a W for the Raptors, and the Bulls would be looking at an 0-3 start right now. Now, give the Pistons credit, they played well, and I said before the season started when doing my predictions video on the other channel, this team is actually going to be better than most people are anticipating. A young, super talented, very athletic team that has a lot to prove. But even despite that, come on now, this is a game the Bulls have to win. I know it's a back-to-back, a traveling back-to-back at that, but the Pistons also played last night as well. And despite the talent this team has, they're still very inexperienced, a rebuilding team that should have no business beating the Bulls. But you know what the problem is? The Bulls' offense, and really the defense today as well, is just so bad and completely disorganized and dysfunctional that it results in these kind of outcomes. Let's start with Zach Lavine. Zach Lavine had a career high tonight. Only his second 50-piece in his career. And you would think going into this game, if Zach is walking away with a career high against the Pistons, it's a good night and the Bulls are walking away with a W. Instead, you have the Bulls lose by 16. Despite the 52-point effort from Zach Lavine, losing by 16 to the Detroit Pistons. Here's my issue with a game like this from Zach Lavine, and I know people are going to interpret this as me going after Zach and attacking him as a player, but really it's more of a product of this team overall and how they're constructed and just how poorly they're coached as well. But the way Zach came into this game was, okay, it's my turn. I've played like crap the last 2 games. I haven't shot the ball well. The whole let's try it out, this new fast-paced, high ball movement style of offense, this hasn't been working. And when it wasn't working last night, DeMar got to take over and he reverted back to his old ways, and it worked out and the Bulls got the win. So why can't I do the same? If the offense still doesn't look good under this new quote-unquote system, and I put that in air quotes because I don't even know if you can call it that, but whatever they're trying to do to generate a new offense that isn't going to be in the bottom third of the league, if no one is buying into it, then why should I? And because of that, you see guys go back to their old bad habits. Zach wanted this to be his game. The old your turn, my turn narrative we talked about all of last season. DeMar had it last game. This was Zach's turn. Zach, he sees he's only averaging 12 points per game so far, shooting 23% from the field, 13% from 3, a negative PER. Yeah, it's early on the season. It's only been 2 games so far, but he needs to course correct that. And he decided to take over. Zach was feeling it right out of the gate. He really was feeling it throughout this one. And hey, if those shots are falling down, yeah, we can live with it. But the problem is, nothing else on offense was happening. Guys were standing around. There was virtually no ball movement, no passing, no setting up of plays. The Bulls had 6 assists in the first half. 6 assists as a team. That is horrible. They ended up finishing the game with 16 assists, which is still very bad. And a lot of it was because, well, outside of Zach and DeMar, really guys couldn't make their shots, but it's because it was the same old, same old. Get it to DeMar or Zach at the top of the key, let them do their thing. Doesn't matter how contested the shots were. Doesn't matter if it's a good shot or a bad shot. Let them do their thing. There were so many shots from both Zach Lavine and DeMar tonight where even when they made them, I was like, that is just not a good shot. That's not a good possession. You cannot win games like this. You cannot win games by just having 1 or 2 guys bringing it down the court and putting up a contested shot with no one cutting the basket, no play being drawn up, and nobody down in the paint to grab the rebound. It doesn't matter how hot the player is. Case in point, Zach Lavine put up a career high, shot 7 for 13 from deep, 19 for 32 overall, and the Bulls still got blown out by the Pistons. That type of basketball does not win games. It's not a sustainable way to win basketball games. And until the Bulls finally learn that, until the coaching staff instills it within these players and even potentially have them changing their ways for which they have played throughout their entire careers, nothing is going to change. The lack of ball movement is killing the Bulls. There should be so many times throughout an NBA game that you should be able to get easy buckets. And do that by pushing the pace, moving the ball around, keeping the defense guessing, and finding a cutter to the basket or an open man in the corner. Some of the worst teams in the league are able to do this, just get easy baskets from time to time in a game. And the Bulls are always making it way more difficult than it needs to be. Again, I know this is some major overreacting, just 3 games into the season, but it's true. We've seen what this group is. We've seen the results if they just keep doing what they've been doing. Unless they actually commit to change, unless they actually commit to buying into what the coaching staff has been wanting them to do and the way to play basketball, nothing is going to change. And yes, it is on the players, it's definitely on the players, but a lot of it is on the coaching staff. And yes, I'm really talking about Billy Donovan. How is it that we're still seeing the same disorganized, dysfunctional style of offense on the court when you have some of the better offensive players in the NBA? How is it that so far this season you guys have looked absolutely lost on both ends of the floor? How is it that the guys are missing assignments, missing switches, not getting the ball on a rebound, not playing with heart? Say what you will about the makeup of the roster and some players just being set in their own ways, that doesn't mean a coach can't still inspire their players. Give the players confidence in their coach that he knows what he's doing and the respect to buy into their system. It's just not there. The guys are still off doing their own thing when it actually matters on the court. Other shocking takeaways from this game, how about the fact that Patrick Williams and Coby White were both scoreless in this one? Two of your starters had 0 points. Now granted, it's not like a lot of guys were getting up shots tonight because Zach and DeMar were taking the bulk of them, but 0 points from your starting point guard and power forward is unacceptable. I said in the last game, the Bulls really need to start Torrey Craig. Like, even just 2 games in this season, it's time. I knew that Donovan wasn't going to do it because it would be too reactionary of a decision to do so, but now, yeah, it's time. I would even go as far as to say that you might want to start Javon Carter as well, because what we're seeing out there right now on the court ain't working. That starting lineup as a whole is no bueno, and you might get some better results with Pat and Coby coming off the bench to provide some offensive production in that unit instead of staggering one of Zach and DeMar with that unit. And the other thing is, the margin for error throughout this season is so small. So yes, it's only 3 games in this season, but you need to start making some changes. Vucevic, dude, got outworked by a 19-year-old tonight, just completely manhandled, getting beat off the pick and roll, getting out-hustled for rebounds. Vucevic had 4 rebounds in total tonight. Here's the thing. I actually like Vucevic a lot. I've been one of his bigger defenders since the start, but if you're going to get mad, talk about how you're not getting the touches that you want or the opportunities you think are there, you got to show up better than you have been so far this season. And actually the same goes for Patrick Williams. This is the prove it year for Pat. He doesn't get a contract extension. He wants a big payday. He talks about how he just wants to go out there and win. You got to prove that to us, dude. So far in these first 3 games, you've been nothing more than a minimum contract player, if that. And that is coming from someone who has been a Pat believer since he was drafted. For a guy who was one of the Bulls' more consistent 3-point shooters last season, he's made just 1 3 in his first 3 games and hasn't even been playable in late game situations. His confidence is completely shot. You can see it in his play, his body language, his demeanor on the court. Every time he tries to take charge and create a shot for himself, he either misses it badly or turns the ball over before even getting a shot up. And the problem is, his defense hasn't even been as good as well. Something is just off with Patrick Williams, and we've said this before, it's always been the mental factor with him. How does he get that mental toughness to finally break out of his shell and realize that talent and potential? Anyway, I don't really know what else to say about this game. Nothing really great to come of it aside from Zach Lavine having a career high, but as I mentioned before, even that has its drawbacks when it's at the detriment of the rest of the offense. We've got to see some changes, man. Otherwise, we're in for a very long season, and I myself, it's going to be hard creating content for this team if this is the kind of product we're going to see on the court. Let me know what you guys thought of the game. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.